punk rock as a philosophy, and I already misspoke. Not punk rock as a philosophy, but the philosophy of punk itself, which obviously is expressed through the music genre, but there's a lot more to it than just listening to hard, fast, loud, somewhat detuned guitars with screaming vocalists about injustice and wearing a leather jacket with studs in it. So yeah, I'm just gonna kind of freeball about that today. But I've been burning the candle at both ends. I literally just got in here and set my stuff up, and then I went to start my stream, and YouTube fucked me over again. I didn't even press a button this time. I just was like setting it up, and it went live. So that's really annoying. So that's why there's not too many people in chat yet. We're gonna let folks find the new stream here, and yeah, we're gonna vibe. I actually have not even had a moment to get properly caffeinated today, and I almost forgot to take my meds, which I have prescriptions to now, thanks to Mish and the other supporters here in LA, as well as the Trans Wellness Center. So I'm pretty pleased about that. And yeah, I've been on. You can't prove shit, but I've been on black market meds for years now, and you know, kind of just DIYing my mental and physical health. I've done a lot of you know, kind of back alley medical work for myself and other people, and it feels nice to be able to just go into a pharmacy and they've got my prescription and things. I don't have to talk around and whatever. Anyway, yeah, welcome to the stream. We're going to talk about punk. This is something that I kind of like, I talk about pretty much like always, because it's not just, it's not just like an isolated topic like, you know, the fake news media wants you to think that it is. It's legitimately a way of life and philosophy, socially, politically, and etc. for many people around the world. Yeah, there's punks in every developed country, and they're doing a lot of crazy big things. Now, I've got my computer in front of me here so I can like look stuff up, and before I went live, I kind of just typed in what is punk philosophy, and the search results, you know, just offhand, I spent like 2 minutes, you know, just typing it in and kind of scanning the first results, and it's pretty underwhelming. I mean, let's see. There's what are the tenets of punk philosophy? It's an ideology in which freedom and self-expression reign supreme. I don't like that wording. I think that's loaded words and idealistic terminology, but let's go on. It says opposition to the establishment, commitment to non-conformity, and passion for authenticity. So this is actually hold on, I'm gonna look something up here. Okay, I just had to make sure that I was understanding that word correctly, and I'm using it kind of loosely, and I might be using it wrong, but I think that focusing on the aspects of being anti-establishment and like standing against things is an example of COINTELPRO, which is when the FBI, for example, will put out like they'll put out propaganda that poses as coming from a certain group, but and most of it will like kind of line up, but there's an agenda, and the agenda is to neutralize a movement. So spreading misinformation, propaganda, and even infiltrating circles of activists, including like not just in punk, because punk spreads over across all activist fronts. They did it during the hippie movement and the 80s punk movement, which got so many people addicted to heroin and all sorts of things. It's easy to neutralize a movement by introducing the glorification of substances. That's a really easy way. Or to focus on certain aspects that are not productive. So I see a lot of arguments online where people are like, that's not very punk rock of you, or like trying to argue that Elon Musk is punk rock because he's anti-establishment. First off, he is the establishment. Second off, he's not like, just being against things does not make you punk rock. And when people are focusing on this sort of thing, like just being anti everything, then they're not standing for anything, and it weakens the movement. So there's a lot of like, you wouldn't expect it if you're not I'm sorry, I'm not caffeinated yet. I'm gonna hang back here and say hi to the folks in chat. We're gonna pump the brakes a little bit here, and I'm gonna drink my delicious powdered energy drink. This is the same as an energy drink. It's got all the same components except for the carbonation in the can, right? And it's like, you know, $1 a little packet. So I don't know. Cheers. Total clickbait. Where's Theo Vaughn? Noodles Live says Trump is punk rock. You're an idiot. That's all I have to say about that. Noodles says I'm gonna see Cancer Slug tonight. Fuck yeah. Hi aus Deutschland. Hello. Hello. Wie geht's? Good to see you again. Look forward to seeing these. So yeah, I actually might do like a series about this, just like punk as a philosophy, and this is just kind of the rudimentary introduction to kind of my thoughts, and I'm freeballing it, like I said. So I'm not looking at a script or anything. I'm just speaking from my experience. I do not claim to be some type of authority on what is and isn't punk. I'm just trying to explain to you through my many years of experience, like what I have learned, so that you don't have to go through all of the bullshit that I went through to come to the conclusions that I've come to, and be able to utilize these ideas in your everyday life. Because believe it or not, you don't have to completely dedicate your whole, you don't have to just like, you know, quit your job, hit the road, build, you know, an insurgency pocket somewhere, and start distributing goods to an entire community of people, or you know, chain yourself to a bulldozer or something. You can do that. That's awesome. But you can use the core tenets of punk philosophy in your everyday life to improve your community, and stand up for what's right in whatever capacity that you can. So yeah, I'm just gonna go over that. I'm waiting for my fucking meds to kick in and this caffeine. So if anybody wants to send some comments in chat, let me know where you're at with the ideology of punk and activism and what your general philosophy is. And I'm going to clarify a few topics throughout the next, 45, 50 minutes or so of the stream. As long as you keep me talking, I'll be here. Okay, you guys, like, I'm sure Noodles is joking about the Trump thing, but yeah, like, that's insane to me. Like, the one thing that we can all agree on about punk is that it is about freedom and not, anti-establishment. Like, so if you believe that, then you can't worship people that are part of the establishment. So, like, politicians are inherently not punk rock, any of them. Yeah. Sorry. Not sorry. Donald Trump is probably the least punk entity that has ever existed. He embodies oppressive ideologies, and he's a liar. I think another important thing about punk rock is being honest and engaging in discourse, even if it's not pleasant. That not seeking comfort and pleasantries is an act of resistance sometimes. That's not to say, like, put yourself in harm's way and, live in a dingy ass basement that you're not happy or comfortable in, that's making you sick because it's got mold in the walls or some shit. Like, if that's what you want to do, then great. Or, you pick your battles too. Like, sometimes I've stayed in such places on my way to actions or when doing community work, that type of thing. Because I have options. I don't have to live in a moldy basement, usually. Sometimes I do. But other people don't always have those options. So let's see what folks are saying. Noodles says, I'm not joking, dude. You know who I am. Yeah, you're right. I don't know who you are. I think you're at the very least somebody who's full of yourself, and you're going to make that my problem in my chat. So if you decide to do that, then I'm just going to block you because this is not a democracy. This is my channel. You look at the name there, right under there, that's Cornelius Vango. That's me. This is my channel. And I practice autonomy here. We don't need to vote on whether I ban people from my channel, Cornelius Vango. I just do it. But, if you're looking for a discourse on Donald Trump, you can find it literally so many places on the internet. So you can go eat my dick. Blondie turned out to be more pop. When was Blondie not pop? I don't understand. I like you a lot after watching for a while. Thanks, Daily. I appreciate that. Let's see. Okay, chat. Tell me what you think punk is. In one sentence. Go. I want to see some answers. Come on, class. Let's go. Anarchist Professor Cornelius is in class, and my computer is fucking screaming at me. What the hell is this shit? Get out of here. I'm muting that. That's so fucking annoying. Holy shit. Holy shit, that's annoying. Okay. Alright. Okay. And we're banning Noodles. You can get the fuck out of here. That's very embarrassing for you. Yeah, worshiping politicians is like the antithesis of punk rock. Especially in this current climate right now when we're literally funding genocide in the U.S. Denny says rebellion. When appropriate, yeah, for sure. Rebellion against what, though? Because, I mean, rebellion in and of itself, I mean, you know, you've got white supremacists out there rebelling against inclusion of people that are not white. Is that punk rock? Pro tip, it's not. Anything that divides and subjugates is oppression. And one of the core tenets that I didn't see here, I think that in this basic Google, and I don't trust Google to define what punk is for anything. If it were up to me to rewrite that Google definition, I would write instead of anti-establishment, because that's a little muddy, I would say anti-oppression. So if there's an entity that has more power than another entity, whoops, I just turned my mic on, and they're using that power unfairly to oppress another group of people that are marginalized, that is what punks stand against. They stand for fairness, and stand up for people who are being treated unfairly. Let's see if I can find punk activist philosophy. So activism is one of the most important things of punk rock, whether that be community building, in, you know, cracking a squat and throwing shows, giving people a space where they can exist without having to spend a bunch of money. Being anti-capitalist, because the capitalist system is something that causes a lot of harm to a lot of people, more people than it doesn't. You have 1% of the people holding like 99% of the world's wealth. So that's obviously the bully in the situation. And actually, that brings me to when punk was emerging in the 70s and 80s, it started off with, back in that day, it was really cool to be a big jocko, big bully, like, you know, a muscle guy that plays sports. That was like, you know, 50s to the 80s. That was beefcake, cis white guy heyday. You know, like you got the football player trope with the cheerleader girlfriend, etc. And those guys would actually go and physically beat people up for being nerds, you know. So it kind of, the punk style, which was appropriated by popular culture and media, and I'm going to be real, the Sex Pistols probably did the most damage to punk representation out of any other entity ever. That's I could rant about that for a good minute, and maybe I will, but shit. Yeah, so it started off with music and politics kind of being a thing, and which was not favored. That was not the type of thing they would play on the radio. It was rude, it was loud, it was not tailored to the popular sensibilities of people at the time. They wanted their white picket fence and their green, perfectly manicured lawn, and, you know, the newest stove oven combo and whatever. And a lot of people didn't fit into all that. Some people, it's not really a choice so much. It's just like society doesn't really leave space for you. So then what do? You're given no other options than to kind of make your own way. So all those nerds, and we think of like white boys because that's the only people that were in representation in the history books, but like people that didn't fit that kind of Jocko cheerleader binary were just seen as less than, and it was totally socially acceptable for them to get fucked with, and that still carries on today. But there's a fuck. What's the book I read? I think it's just like the history of punk culture book. So these nerds got sick of getting beat up, right? So what did they do? Well, they bought some big ass boots and they put little short screws in the bottom, like a bunch of them, so that when they walked around, it sounded really loud and heavy and aggressive. And they put spikes on their shoulders. A lot of these guys were like skinny science dorks. Like, I'm sure, you know, there's a lot of autism in early punk rock as well, and a lot of queerness and a lot of people that aren't white. So like they were outgunned. These big jocks, that's what they do. They're muscleheads, and they had to find some way to not get beat up all the time. So they started hanging out in larger groups. That's why you see punks in groups. It's for protection. And you know, with the spikes and the gnarly presentation, they started looking really scary as a defense mechanism. That's where punk style came from, to keep themselves safe, literally. Like, can you imagine being like a pasty nerd back in the late 70s and trying to get home from school, and like groups of dudes from a football game would just like jump out of their car and give you a wedgie and like beat your ass up and leave you in a ditch? Like, what the fuck, man? Like, of course you're gonna put on big fucking boots and stomp around and wear a bunch of chains and you know, start a fight club with your homies and put spikes on your shoulders and learn how to windmill in the mosh pit. All of the scariest looking punks are like some of the most delicate dandies, I swear to God. And they must be protected. Yeah. And then as that was emerging in the late 70s, early 80s, like that's around the time that the Sex Pistols got to be one of the biggest bands in the world, weirdly enough, which is also like sus, because if punk rock is so anti-establishment, why did the establishment love them so much? Well, it's because they were showing only the damaging parts and the degrading parts of being punk. They were all addicted to heroin. All they cared about was fucking and being rude, and they didn't even care to learn how to play their fucking instruments. They're just awful. So like the Sex Pistols is kind of like a really good analogy of people who think that millionaires and billionaires like fucking Elon Musk and shit are punk, because they're completely missing the point, and it's not unintentional. The establishment co-opted punk ideology and spread misinformation of what it is by overly representing the least punk group imaginable. So like that kind of like what is it, that British punk of the early 80s, that was COINTELPRO. I'm gonna say it. I'm just gonna say it. Fuck the Sex Pistols. They're stupid. I hate them. And I mean, I couldn't even care to like, I wish I didn't even know who they were, honestly. And I'm sure there's plenty of other bands that were also putting forth that false representation that disempowered the punk movement so badly. Anybody want to name your favorite punk bands? What's your favorite punk band and what do you like about them? Also, if you are an anarchist or you've been involved in punk activism, tell me about ways. And yeah. I literally just talked about the Sex Pistols. I'm not gonna talk about the fucking Sex Pistols anymore. Fuck them all. They're stupid bitches, and I'm pretty sure Sid Vicious is dead, right? I don't know. And Johnny Fuckface is doing some corporate bullshit. I don't know. Fuck them. Pennywise, for the solidarity I used to feel with them. Fuck yeah, I like Pennywise was actually one of the first like real punk bands. Oh, I got a hair in my eye. That I got into, because I was into, like, you know, when I was like 14, 15, I heard Anti-Flag, as a lot of us did. I know it's cringe, but like some of this stuff kind of, it still holds up, sort of. It's fi, which is like really more pop than punk. And then like at one point I found pretty early on like the Dead Kennedys, and that was when I was like, yo, these guys are saying something. Like, they're not just like playing music, but like the satire, you know, kill the poor, that's like, it holds up. And like when I first heard the Dead Kennedys, that shit like kind of changed my whole perspective on things. Up until that point, I had thought, oh, the Ramones is another one that I fucking hate. The Ramones are not punk. Sex Pistols are not punk. If you think they are, get the fuck out of here. Up until that point, I had thought, like, I knew about, like, you know, Anti-Flag and AFI, and I think I had listened to Pennywise a couple of times at that point, and I really liked their jams. Shit. I'm trying to get back into my, like, little 15-year-old brain. I wish that I still had my iPod from back then. Somebody stole it out of my van, like, 10, 12 years ago. And it still had like that, it had like the chronological awakening of Cornelius as a punk on there, which is so special. But maybe I can find some old playlists somewhere. Let's see. Yeah, Dead Kennedys fucking changed me. Propaganda had a pretty big impact. I went to an alternative high school for a couple years. Like, I was already kind of, like, you know, I didn't just go to a show or, like, see somebody in a leather jacket on TV saying, like, fuck the system and think, like, wow, that's what I want to be. I'm a punk anarchist. And then, like, go out and buy a leather jacket and put studs on it and, like, you know, wear some black jeans and start going to shows. That is not what happened. It was like a good 10 years of really like studying and careful thought and like getting involved in different communities as I went from my like early mid-teens into my 20s. And it was quite a journey. Like, I was actually really I remember when I was in like 9th grade, I saw some kid drawing an Anarchy A, and like I grew up in the Christian church, you know, my family is Republican. We used to be like kind of more like, the family was more Democrat at one point, and then there was a kind of a switch. Anyway, that's like a whole conversation. But like when I first saw this kid drawing an Anarchy A, my only impression of anarchy was just like setting fires and not giving a fuck about anybody, and like, you know, doing drugs at the skate park or whatever. And like, yeah, making problems for other people and being rude, right? So I kind of was just like, do you even know what that means, man? Like, you know, why are you into that? Like, I don't get it. And I was like low-key offended. And that kind of started this whole process of introspection and like looking into what that actually means. And I didn't fully grasp like no gods, no masters for a good 10 years. So it's like, it's a journey, man. And anarchy isn't just like that. That's the thing. Like, people are always focusing on the against part, like the anti part, but like, I focus on the pro. Like, what are we building? What are we working toward? Why are we always focusing on tearing shit down? Like, if it's unjust and unsustainable, it will collapse. And it's up to us to be building in the meantime, so that when it does collapse, people have something new to move into. Instead of just like burning shit down and being like, yeah, fuck all that was dumb. And then all of a sudden, like, what, we don't have schools anymore, or like, you know, or we don't have academia anymore, or businesses. I'm talking about actual anarchy in action. That's a goal. And there is a difference. Let's catch up and chat here and see what folks are saying, because there's a lot of folks saying stuff. Oh, actually, I can just go on YouTube page and pull it up here, which is kind of nice, so I can just follow along on my computer instead of fucking with my phone a bunch. Yeah, let's do that. Great. Okay. Okay, are we good? Everybody still here? Okay. Jeez. Okay. We only have so much bandwidth here, so I switched my phone from the Wi-Fi to the phone service. Anyway, if you have... Actually, I totally lost my train of thought there when we shit out. Okay. Let's just catch up here on the computer. It's taking a minute to load. There we go. Okay. Samuel Butler says, with an emphasis on social justice, collective community, anti-capitalism, consumer, and emphasis on DIY and direct action. Boom. Samuel Butler for the win. Thank you so much for that comment. That's it in a nutshell. And it looks like you may have had something that you said. Yeah. Okay, some other folks. Wow. Okay, let's see. Sierra Wheelander says, punk to me means anti-control. Yeah, I mean, you know, you can't believe in autonomy if you also are taking autonomy from people, right? And what is autonomy? Autonomy is self-governance. And in my understanding, anarchy in actuality, not the theory of anarchism, is not the absence of government. It's governing yourself and having the freedom to govern yourself in the space that you occupy, so long as you're not infringing on another person's autonomy and freedom of self, right? So, like, you know, I should be able to do whatever the fuck I want as long as I'm not hurting anybody or causing a direct negative impact to another person. So when you're directly negatively impacting people, that is oppression, right? So by definition, the United States government is oppressive. And that's why I don't fuck with it. I don't know. I do fuck with the government, like, in ways. But I don't want it. I didn't ask for it. It is something that exists whether I want it to or not. And I think it's counterproductive to focus on my frustration that it exists at all, because it does. There's a lot of things that suck that, like, it's beside the point to argue about whether it should or should not exist, because it does. And that's just the things that we have to work with in this life. Let's see. Andreas Fiss says, punk is a Protestbewegung. I don't know what that means. And striking clothing. Okay. Maybe just protesting and striking clothing. that's a lot of emphasis on the fashion aspect. There's a lot of ways to express yourself. With it's so funny. Everybody is all like, "Oh, punk is about like nonconformity," and like it's kind of not. Like that's not what it's about. Like nonconformity can be an important aspect, but more so like free thought, thinking for yourself is important. And sometimes you think for yourself and you come to conclusions that are not unlike a lot of your peers. So that's why, like, most punks wear black. It's not because it's a dress code. It's because it's practical. It's a practical color. It doesn't stain. You do a lot of dirty stuff when you're a punk, like dumpster diving or bleeding on yourself because you're skateboarding or whatever. Like, I don't know. Whatever. So, like, it doesn't stain. It's practical. It saves money. That's a big reason why. And also, if you go to an action, it makes it easier to blend in with everybody else. It's a defense tactic. So black bloc is when you stand against oppressive forces, right? Like, you go and show up in numbers to show that we, the people in a group, have decided that we won't stand for this. And anonymity is very important in that. So if I decided to go to an action right now, I've downplayed my style a lot. I can take out the piercings, I can turn my shirt inside out, and I'm gonna look like everybody else there. Put on a black beanie or something, or like whatever. I can put just a plain mask on. I just look like everybody else, and I think that is important. So with the co-opting of what punk rock is, with the kind of styles that you see in magazines and fashion, is very distinctive. You look at that and you're like, oh yeah, that's punk rock. There's leather and studs, and it's all very predictable. There's hand sewn patches. Look at that sick back patch of a band. But that's a co-opted punk rock fashion, okay? And I don't hate it. It harkens back to earlier days, in the 80s, like I talked about, where nerds were grouping together and making themselves look scary so they wouldn't get beat up on the way home from school. It's a good style, it's fine. But I'm not going to wear that to an action, and I'm not going to wear that type of style. I don't even have a leather jacket right now. I don't think I have some leather things, but it's not something that I would wear in public. And yeah, so there's ways to signal that you are an activist and that you are a punk that are a lot more under the radar. Like, somebody that's not a punk might see me in public. All right, let's say I'm a little dialed down today. This is just kind of like this sort of thing that I would typically wear. I just got some fucking plain ass Carhartts here. I got fucking $5 foam shoes that nobody would look twice at. And I got, of course, a nice shirt. This clearly reads punk, right? But like, if I had a different t-shirt on, then I might pass as, kind of beatnik-esque, maybe even hipster. I don't know. Being a little bit ambiguous with the style, I think, is kind of useful. I'm not going to say it's important. It depends on what you're doing with it. I like to kind of blur the lines a little bit. So I utilize influences from different styles that actually did come from punk rock in the first place. So it's kind of funny. Like, a lot of styles for so many other music genres and political philosophies originated in punk rock, believe it or not. I really like these glasses. I bought these for $10 off of at a little Mexican stand. There's Oh man, I love it. Okay, so one thing that I would like everybody to do is this is like a really simplified version of how I feel about activism. If nothing else, steal from corporations. Not only like, there's no ethical consumption under capitalism. I've said that many times. Unless you're consuming reclaimed goods and things. So if you're taking from oppressors and repurposing those goods to help the proletariat to be Marxist. I'm not a Marxist. I'm not a communist. I'm an anarchist. But I work with a lot of communist minded people, and there's a lot of parts of their ideology that I really fuck with. I mean, and there's a lot of things about anarchism that really don't hit for me. So it's also about being flexible and not being so hedged into your doctrine that you can't hear other thoughts and ideas from other people. Being flexible and also being open to discussion, even if it's unpleasant. And don't beat your dead horse. Okay, don't beat off dead horses. Be open. The biggest part is community, and I totally was gonna come around to a point. Stealing from corporations, and appropriating their things, because like these Fortune 500 companies and these billionaires have stolen so much from the world, and they're not giving it back. So taking what's ours as the people is our responsibility if we're able to, and looking out for people that can't do that. And also, if you must buy things, which most of us do, if you can help it, I'm not saying you're going to get canceled. I have an Amazon wish list in my fucking description right now, okay? At the end of the day, do what you got to do. Don't put yourself out because of your dogma and your ideology. Preserve yourself. Like, not everybody can be stealing from Walmart every day. And not everybody is, like, there's different roles for everybody. So find yours. But spending money, if you're going to spend money and you can help it, buy from like individuals. Try and barter if you can. And I love buying most of my like snacks and my little things like this from people that are vending on the street. I guess I'm not anti-establishment in the way that I don't like bars and libraries, and because those are establishments too. That's why that wording is a little dangerous. I'm not anti-building things and creating spaces if you're making money. I'm not anti-money. I'm anti-capitalism. But if I can help it, and I came across this sick little like taco venue yesterday when I was walking around, and it was literally like made out of wood and reclaimed cloth, like stapled up on these frames to create like walls, and kind of it was very punk shui. It was super cool. They had like flat screens in there and like karaoke and a bunch of dumpy ass couches that I'm sure they just pulled off of curbs. And it was a big space. They had taken over this whole like dirt lot. I don't know if they were supposed to be there or not. Fucking incredible. Very cool. I didn't have time to go in, but I will sometime soon. So if I have a choice between going to that venue to go kick it and spend my money and eat tacos and, get stoned and do some karaoke, and down the street, a nice upscale mocktail lounge with the same things but indoors with, whatever, I'm going to choose the blanket fort on the dirt lot, okay? Because, like, if you're going to be anti-establishment while being in an establishment, that's the one. I don't know. Or like if I'm hungry, sometimes I don't have the energy and I'll do fucking like I don't know, DoorDash or whatever. It goes against my principles, but at the end of the day, I got to take care of myself. Sometimes I bite the bullet and pay into the system that oppresses. Which, if you're living in it, how are we back? Where did I fucking leave off? Um, I was ranting about ordering pizza and how it's not wrong. If there's a taco truck right there on your street, and you can go get a taco from Jorge right there, and he's getting his meat from his cousin that has a butcher shop down the street or whatever, and it not only is it going to be cheaper, but it's also like more morally correct than just deciding to order a pizza, especially from Domino's, because they support genocide. Or like so many of these big corporations have a direct hand in supporting oppression globally, right? So like if it's all the same to you and you still choose to order a pizza, like, yeah, fuck you. When there's tacos and molitas and shit right there. Like, yeah. But if, it's a sliding scale. If you're a person with a disability and the taco truck is like a few blocks away and you're in fucking autistic burnout and the idea of even getting up off the couch is causing you a ton of anxiety, like, it's fine. It's fine. Order Chinese to your fucking door or whatever the fuck. There's still harm reduction in that. You can do a little bit of looking into which companies are like where their money goes and where, of course, your money is going through them. That's awesome. Harm reduction is a core tenet of punk rock, and that's one thing that I haven't seen online. Reducing harm. That, like, yeah. So it's like, I'm actually gonna go out on the windowsill and smoke a cigarette. Speaking of harm reduction. I quit drinking about 10 months ago. So when it comes to smoking and, oh, hey, I'm gonna grab my caffeine. When it comes to smoking and consuming caffeinated products, that's kind of my harm reduction with that. Like, I gotta do something. Or if I get like a real hankering to get fucked up, I'll go buy some fucking nitrous or whatever. As long as it's not booze. Because booze almost killed me on a few occasions. And that's one thing that I love about, there's the concept of harm reduction has been espoused in some cool collective community support groups across the US and I'm sure other countries. And like the basic idea behind it is radical acceptance. So like this is harm reduction for drug use and addiction, right? And it saves people's lives. There's science behind harm reduction practices, reducing harm. Go figure. So like, if you want to get into recovery, you don't have to be completely clean and or sober. You can just start. And not only that, but they'll give you clean needles and clean paraphernalia and referrals to clinics and sometimes a place to stay, um, and like you don't even have to be intending to quit. You can just get in there and talk about addiction, and like that's the big difference between like AA and NA and harm redux, is just that radical acceptance of where you're at. And a lot of people don't get into recovery because it's not accessible for them. They don't know how to stop, so they just don't have a chance because they're kind of discarded as like, you're not trying hard enough, or you're not ready, or you're not working toward it enough. But yeah, getting involved in like activism is not just chaining yourself to heavy equipment or sitting in a tree so they don't cut them down. Like that is definitely part of it, but there's ways that you can help build the movement in your own hometown with feeding people that are hungry and distributing supplies for people with drug addiction problems, and providing space for them to be where they aren't going to get rousted, or standing up when the cops try to clear homeless people out of their camps. Being there with your phone camera to record the brutality of it and the dehumanization of the system toward the poor, because the poor are the people that are most oppressed, and we're all poor. Who in this fucking chat is not poor? And if you're not, fucking send a kick down. I've got PayPal, Venmo, and Cashapp in my description there if you want to help support. I have $90 to my name, and this is how I make my money. I talk to folks. It's donation based, so don't feel bad if you don't have it, but if you got something to throw down, it does help. Satan and I do have to eat, and this is it. This is my income right now. I'm disabled. My prosthetic is... I'm still on the same prosthetic that's been hurting me for the last 6+ months, or longer, last year, that I've been trying to get replaced. So it's really hard for me to get out and do things right now, but I've put in a lot of time and effort over the last couple decades to help others. So mutual aid is something that I will gladly accept, and that's another core tenet of punk rock and activism, is mutual aid. I'm not trying to guilt trip you into fucking throwing $5 in my account, but if you feel like it, if you feel so called. So like going out into your community, dumpster diving is cool, or like helping other people to acquire food for the poor and distributing goods and resources is always going to be punk rock, because like no matter what you believe in politically, you're a human being that has a body, right? And your body is a big part of your health and survival, and so being able to put food in your body is important, and everybody should be putting food in their bodies, and getting people medical assistance and treatment is important, and getting things to people that are in active addiction so that they don't also have to deal with sepsis and overdoses and being in unsafe places is morally correct. Because like, how are you going to heal as a person and come around to supporting your community and being useful to society or whatever the fuck? How are you going to do that if you can't even take care of yourself and you're literally dying in the street, Let's see. I'm gonna catch up in chat here. Mermaiden says, loved growing up in the punk scene in DC. The Black Cat was my favorite small punk venue. Got to see that. Bad Brains and Casualties there. Cool. Yeah, the Casualties was another punk band that I really liked, and then what's his face turned out to be kind of like a Proud Boy or whatever, right? Which sucks. Went to an alternative high school too. That's cool. Yeah, I went to an alternative high school in like 11th grade and 12th grade, and my homeroom teacher was and is an active punk community member, and she introduced me to a lot of really cool radical ideas, and I went to her show. She's in a Minneapolis-based punk band that's all females, all women, and it's called the Menstrual Tramps. Look them up if you're curious. They're really fun, super great. My teacher was the bassist, Val, and she made a huge impact on my life, and introduced me to radical ideologies, standing up for the oppressed, and trans-inclusive feminism, and she also did before Proud Boys kind of took over the Viking kind of thing. She was doing Viking reenactments. I think she's Icelandic, and so that historical kind of just primitive practices with building the Viking equivalent of longhouses, and practicing outdoor skills and weapon skills and community and cooking and stuff like that. I thought that was really cool. Lil Peep kind of modernized punk for the new generation. I don't like that sentence. That sounds sus as fuck. He called himself a punk star. I don't know who this guy is. But if you're calling yourself a punk star instead of a pop star, that's sus. I don't know what that means. What are his views? What does he talk about politically? What do you get from the music? It's not about the music and the presentation and whatever. It's about the message behind it. Cyril Wieslander says the Latin meaning of government breaks down to mind control. Words are spells, and they aren't even trying to hide it. I don't have my computer in front of me because I do like etymology. So we can look that up. But yeah, it loosely does translate into control of something, thought or ideas. Okay, now you're talking about David Bowie. Okay, David Bowie was a groomer. Sorry to say it. And he doesn't really have much to say in the realm of politics. He definitely did stand for certain things. He was I don't know that much about David Bowie. I do know that he was into racial inclusivity, which is cool. Inclusivity is very important in punk rock. Not excluding people because of the conditions of their birth, if they're black or brown or gay or disabled or whatever, that's just how you are. You can't help that. So by definition, if you're a white supremacist, for example, you can't be punk because you're excluding people for things that they can't control about themselves, like being white. And I guess as far as like people that you folks in chat have found inspiring as like punk influences that turned out to be not so punk, you know, it kind of just comes down to like I'm not about canceling. I don't think that there's any utility in just like straight canceling people for having bad takes. But if they are like a danger to the community, if they're like if they're predatory, then that's definitely worth blowing them up for it, so that you don't enable predatory behavior. But if they're like dead already, I'll like rock some tunes that I thought were good. I listen to a lot of old country, right? And honestly, a lot of old country is really goth and punk. Like, a lot of it's super punk rock. Like, folk and punk have gotten married in the last, 20 years. And folk was absolutely a precursor to modern punk. So there's a few artists that I listen to that I really like, that had a lot of interesting things to say about the establishment and about oppression and standing up for their specific parts of community and representation, etc., that turned out to have, like, be racist or something, or have kind of more of a complicated relationship with movements of their time. And I think it's okay to like listen to that music still, but I'm not gonna like blast it at a function, right? Because that's not, I don't want people to get the wrong idea, and I don't want to be like representing people with shitty opinions about other people, and furthering their messages. But if I'm in the comfort of my own space and I want to rock some like Misfits or something, I don't really particularly care for the Misfits, but like, I don't know, whatever. Then I can acknowledge that like maybe some that maybe I shouldn't be listening to them, but there's the nostalgia and the dopamine, and I didn't pay for that music. I pirate my shit, and like not all my shit. I pay people that I believe are doing good things. Like I buy into shit, but anyway. That's a whole other conversation. We could have a conversation about punk philosophy in theft, reclamation, and piracy. But we're already past the hour, and I feel like I still could go on. What's your favorite punk band at the moment? That's a good question. I haven't been listening to a lot of like legit old school punk much at all recently. Mostly I've been listening to like beats and stuff, which is funny because like a lot of people that are into old school punk and were like trad punks back in the day have moved on to like jazz and blues and whatever, because like the ideology carries over into so many other music genres. I guess I like a lot of the newer crust punk that's like queer. There's like, especially trans stuff, like there's this group called Body Betrayal that I really like. They're super hard, like really, really good stuff. And then there's this other band, or this, I think it's just one artist, this trans woman, and it's called Gloss. Girls Living Outside of Society. That's pretty good. And then like most of the punk stuff that I listen to are actually just my friends, which is funny. like my friend's Absent. She's probably the best rail rider alive today, and don't let her know that I said that. But she plays banjo, and she was in the Suburbanists, and she has a bunch of her own stuff out. You can find it on Bandcamp if you search for it. Really good. I've used some of her music in one of my videos, and like a lot of the most punk people that I know today are actively playing music on the street or in venues together, and they're actively traveling. A lot of them are freight train riders, and you're not going to find them on MTV, and you're not going to find them on, Pandora or whatever, maybe Spotify for a lot of them. Let's see. Riley Coyote and the RTZ is a very good amalgamation of old school punk. Those are some of my friends. They're really good. And they've got elements of blues and rockabilly and old school rock and roll and folk punk. They're just the whole shebang. And Flail Records is a good label for a lot of folks that I know personally that are putting out really good punk ideology, and yeah, it's a lot of community stuff. Let me see, who else could I name drop? Shit. Yeah, I don't know. Just look up Flail Records. There's a lot of good stuff on there, and I think they have a website with all of the albums and lyrics and chord progressions and stuff like that on there. You can learn a lot of good stuff. There's a number of my friends touring right now, actually. But yeah, a lot of folks are moving heavier into the folk more than punk these days. Like Pine and Fire, they're very, very folk with some slight punk undertones, but it's more just heartfelt stuff about life. And yeah, a lot of folk punks kind of slowly gravitated into country as well, like outlaw country, which is really cool. Yeah, I could go on, but let's see. Sharp skins were always chill to me. Yeah, sharps are cool. Skinheads against racial prejudice, that is definitely an interesting subsect of old school and new punk. They've been around for a long time. And the skinhead movement got co-opted by racists as well. So if you see a punk with a shaved head, a lot of times your first thought is oh no, it's a skinhead, because you think, it's a racist. But so it sucks, because you might go to a punk show and see a bunch of skinheads and you'll be like, okay, am I at a real OG punk gathering, or is this a fucking Proud Boy shit? And a good way to figure it out is look for the Sharps logos or whatever, see what kind of bands they're repping, and get a feel for their messaging. Because yeah, if you've got a lot of white boys with shaved heads, it can go one of two ways. Playing banjo is very cool. Yeah, a lot of those there's a saying in I think it's a communist saying, but it's if it's inaccessible to the poor, it's neither radical nor revolutionary. But I like to just shorten it to, if it's inaccessible, it's not revolutionary. And I forget where I was going with that. My brain's I'm a little overstimulated out here with all this noise. I'm gonna go back inside. Oh yeah, the accessibility thing. So like, a lot of people, you think punk rock, you need like loud guitars and stuff, but not everybody has access to a nice practice space, or any practice space. It doesn't need to be nice. It could be in a fucking dumpster, but not everybody has amps or the means to move them around, or the stability to have a dedicated practice space with your homies. So like a lot of people's answer to that is just to learn and adopt punk styles to acoustic instruments like banjo, or shit, I've seen people play punk shit on ukulele, which is like the least punk instrument. But like, that's the thing, that if there's no such thing as something that's like an object, that you can have ideologies that are inherently non-punk, but like there's no such thing as an unpunk instrument or an unpunk article of clothing. The way that you wear it and the way that you use it is what defines it as punk. So like, yeah, you could be ska obviously did a lot for like brass instruments, and folk punk has done a lot for acoustic instruments in punk. So like, there was a point in time where acoustic guitar was seen as like very not punk, right? But like, what's more punk than fucking working with what you've got and using your limited resource to further your message? You just, if you've got a violin, fucking play it. If you've got an accordion, fucking play it. If you're like, you can play a didgeridoo in a punk way. I'm sure. I've not seen it, but I'm sure it's been done. And if it hasn't, somebody's gonna do it. It's not something that's limited. It's not a pigeonhole. It's a philosophy that can be adapted for any environment that you might find yourself in. It's not too late to radicalize and awaken to what you can do with what you have. Anybody here in chat play music? What instruments do you play? Tell me all about it. I have a lot of cigarette trash out here that I'm gonna have to clean up. I'm gonna have to tidy up around here today. That's next on the docket. Keeping things tidy. A lot of people focus on the tearing down aspect of punk rock, but then like, everybody wants revolution, but nobody wants to do the dishes. That's the saying. So it's like, there's small things that you can do that help the movement that are less recognized. Being the one to roll up your sleeves and do the dirty work sometimes, or like the less celebrated aspects of collectivism, is really important and often overlooked. Like doing the dishes, sweeping the floor, tidying up the squat, etc. I'm catching up in chat on my computer screen here. Let's see. Tiny Tim is a punk rocker. Hell yeah, Tiny Tim is punk. Really though, like, he was singing in a falsetto voice and being femme as fuck in a time when there wasn't really, he becoming popular and making a name for yourself in music or media or whatever is not inherently unpunk either. Like, if you're doing it in a way that brings visibility to people that otherwise wouldn't have it, that's a form of activism as well. So like, Tiny Tim being Tiny Tim in that time and place was definitely like a form of activism in visibility. and he made it easier for other people to do those things. Could you provide the names of your rail rider friends in the bands you were talking about? No. I'm not going to just... Well, I mean, like, yeah, I'm not going to just sit and, like, list off all of the people that I know. Like, there's a lot of bands out there doing a lot of cool stuff. I have a couple of patches on another shirt from Healers and a band... a fella from, I think, New Orleans called Yes Ma'am that's kind of blowing up right now, and he's been he's been involved in the punk scene for a while, and let's see, who else have I seen recently? Oh, I was about to mention somebody and then I just like blanked out. Yeah, I don't know. My brain's too disorganized to just like fucking name people off. It'll come to me if it comes to me. Yeah. My brain just turned into mush. Or links. No, I'm not. Go join the Discord if you want, and I post music in the auditorium a lot, and other people do as well. So you can join the conversation there. I'm not going to make the whole last few minutes just dropping band names and links. But let's see here. I'll just post a link for the lazy people in chat to Flail Records. That's a good place to start. I'm just looking at, and that's like not every band on there is gonna be like the epitome of punk rock. I'm seeing some Days and Days, and I have enjoyed a couple of their songs, but not I'm not gonna drag Days and Days right now. I don't need to do that. I don't know them like that. Let's see, Holy Locust. That's some good folks. They're doing some very very authentic kind of New Orleans folk punk, and they're touring a lot. Oh yeah, fucking Littlefoot. It has enjoyed some fame online, and it is, I think, touring right now. Let's see. He's great. So there's this band here in LA, and they're more like pop and like singer-songwriter at this point with some like pop punk influences. But they're great, good friends. They're called the Pussy Boys. So if you like a little bit of a lighter, kind of more something that you can like sit and kind of groove to a little bit, that has to do with pussy and being a boy, just light stuff. It's pretty good. And there's another trans band out here. I forget what they're called. I haven't listened to them yet, but I spoke to I think the drummer, and they seemed really cool. They're kind of like the more folk punk version of the Pussy Boys I hear. I see Rail Yard Ghosts. Riley Coyote was a member of Rail Yard Ghosts, big member there. There he is. And yeah, Rail Yard Ghosts is kind of like OG train riding folk punk. Definitely worth looking into. Yeah, some good stuff. I'm just scrolling over here. There's artists. Let's see. Tejon Street Corner Thieves. Pretty decent. Okay. Wait, Profane Sass is on Flail? That's cool. Okay. Yeah, there's some good stuff. Let's see. Let's catch up in chat here and Iggy Pop is not one of the original punk rockers. Punk rock has been around since like, oh man, okay, am I really gonna, okay. Chronological history of punk music. Here's a timeline of punk rock on Wikipedia. I'm gonna post in the chat. But it's only going back to the 1960s into proto-punk, which is fair and fine. I'm seeing a lot of good stuff on here. Okay, yeah, I'm just going to post that in the chat here. That's a good kind of like skimming the surface of that. But there were punk influences as far back as the 1940s, I want to say. Maybe even earlier. Especially with, let's see. First speed metal guitarist was a black woman. And that was Sister Rosetta Tharpe, the black woman who invented rock and roll. So, like, that was in the 1930s. Rosetta Tharpe played her guitar fast and hard. And that was kind of like an early precursor to punk rock and metal. And there's, you know, music genres as they've evolved over the many decades is something that I'm very interested in and could talk about a lot. So maybe for the next stream, I can talk about that a little bit more, and we can go over the actual history of how punk rock came to be in music. I think that would be an interesting topic that I would love to do more research on and be able to talk about more than just like offhand, off the cuff. All right, let's see. Excellent. Okay, anybody got any questions about punk as a philosophy before I wind down the stream here? Anything that you feel is unclear, that you're confused about, or something that you think that I could expound on? I'll give you a moment to figure it out while I rip on this here dab pen. Get my headspace all aligned for my next chores and such. Or if you have a summary of, based on what has been discussed on stream here, maybe an amended idea of punk philosophy. And I'm not talking about punk rock. Punk rock espouses punk philosophy. I mean the idea of punk, politically and socially. And I'm done talking about bands right now. My interest, I'm autistic, and one of my special interests is music. So, like, if I get going on that, that's going to be the whole tangent, and I'm not ready to switch into that right now. We can do a music discussion another day, maybe tomorrow or something. Yeah. White Russian says, "Hello, Corn. I'm usually in the bushes." Can I read it in a Russian accent? "Hello, Corn. I'm usually in the bushes, but I wanted to say hi." How do I say hi in Russian? Oh fuck, I forget. Hold on. Russian to English translation, or English to Russian. Let's see. Okay, this is taking too long. Never mind. Anyway. I learned a little bit of, I only learned how to say yes and no in Ukrainian. I have Ukrainian heritage. So, yeah, I know, my barber is Russian though. He set me up. It's growing in a little bit now, but, he escaped the draft a couple of times and came here to the U.S. so that he didn't have to kill my people, which is really cool. So I know how to say tak and nemoye. That's a start. I don't remember how to say. I know it's niet is no in Russian. I don't remember what yes is. I'm gonna see how I say. Oh yeah, it's I don't know how to read this. Okay, never mind. I'm done trying to learn Russian on the spot. Y'all have like 700 fucking letters or some shit like that. I grew up in Moscow, but my mother is Ukrainian. Fuck yeah. Okay, I see you. Yeah, it's gotta be fucking crazy over there right now, I tell you what. I've been thinking about Poland a lot too. Ugh. David says, dude, I absolutely love your honesty. That's one reason I watch you. Fuck yeah. Radical honesty and radical acceptance are some of the things that I find most important in my understanding of punk as a philosophy. So thank you for seeing that. Iggy was proto-punk in the 60s. I mean, I'm not saying Iggy wasn't like punk, and I did like a lot of his music, but you got to remember that a lot of those white guys in the early days were directly ripping off of black artists, and that is something that you need to note and reconcile. So behind every white punk is the influence and sometimes direct appropriation of brown people and marginalized people who didn't get the platform that their white counterparts did, okay? So you just got to remember that. If there's, if there's like a white punk that you think is really, really cool from back in the day, great. You know, I'm not saying don't listen to them or that they Elvised themselves, which is like Elvis literally stole actual songs that were written and performed and well known by black artists back in the day. Like directly just stole their music. Like, you know that song, You Ain't Nothing But a Hound Dog? That was, he just took that whole song. And that was like what carried him into fame. So like the music industry has been upset at this point where people have more control over how they represent themselves. But back then it was basically like a dick sucking contest, right? And only certain eligible people could enter the dick sucking contest. So just keep that in mind. All of the best punk rock, they tried to bury with sanitized counterparts that they could sell to the general public and capitalize on, because punk is inherently anti-capitalist. So you have to dig for it more. You have to work for it more. You're not gonna get it spoon-fed to you on the TV. The revolution will not be televised. Lots of black people started a lot of music without credit for it. That's right, David. That's exactly right. Hey, I think we're doing pretty good today. Let's see. If you're in chat and you haven't said hello yet, or maybe you've been lurking my streams a bit, feel free to say hi and introduce yourself here. And if you are somebody that has a few extra bucks and you'd like to throw down, I'm hurting right now, and this is how I make my money. It's totally donation based. I'm not going to twist your arm about it. I have PayPal, Venmo, and Cashapp in my description. I don't have any sort of, I don't even remember the word for it. That's how punk rock I am. I don't remember what the, people that give me money to do what I do, if I if I try to sell their shit, I'm I don't have yeah, I'm not accepting money from companies. Product placement. Somebody help me. Sponsor. Thank you, White Russian. See, you know English better than I do. Fucking A. Yeah, I don't have any sponsors. I'm self-sponsored. I'm DIY. So instead of sitting here telling you that you should buy this fucking whatever foam pillow or some shit that I got for free and get $10 every time I mention, I'm gonna say I have money links in the description. I have a wish list on Amazon. Guillotine Jeff Bezos. And if you can figure out a way to scam it, please do. But I also do have things there that I really could use and do a lot of good with. And I'm causing enough of a disturbance for the establishment that sending goods to me is a vote for anarchy. You really can't make Jeff Bezos any richer. You're fucking 50 cents on the dollar. It's not gonna stop it. Yeah. The system is broken, okay? But anyway, fuck you, pay me. Or go on my Patreon and pledge $5 a month, and I do upload vlogs and such that I don't upload anywhere else, etc. Hell yeah. We have a lot of really good conversation in chat today too, and I love that. If you are feeling like continuing the conversation, you can go and join our Discord. We have a lot of really cool discourse and conversation in the Discord. Yeah, do that. Fucking click the links, hit the like button, okay? I'm getting good and stoned. Anybody got any more questions? Now's your chance. Go, go, go. I'm going to give Satan a treat. Yeah. Yeah. Is it time? Oh. Is it time? Achoo! Ugh. You want it? Go ahead. Yeah. And I have done talks on my channel about how you can help in your community, how you can be an activist even if you're a slave to the system, as it were. And I think I have a playlist about it. It's called How to Live Simply. And it's kind of like a guide on surviving van life, but also just being poor, and how you can help others and help yourself if that's your situation, which it is for most of us. I don't see anybody in chat saying anything, and I also don't see any kickdowns. I really hope that I didn't do this whole stream and get nothing again. The last couple streams, nobody kicked down. It's probably because it's the end of the month, maybe, but that's very discouraging. Yeah, but I don't do what I do for the money, obviously. If I did, I would be doing something else. So, you know. Let's see. Any thoughts on anarcho-capitalism? Oh my Lord God. ANCAPs are not anarchists. That's all I'm going to say on that. Yeah. Nobody who is an actual practicing anarchist activist fucks with ANCAPs. And there's a lot of reasons why. But yeah, if somebody tells you that they're an anarcho-capitalist, stay the fuck away from that person. I'm speaking from experience, and also, like, yeah. Let's see. Let's see the definition of anarcho-capitalism. Colloquially, ANCAP is anti-statist, libertarian political philosophy and economic theory. So they're like right-wing, anti-establishment, and they are capitalists, which is not like that. That's not anarchist. It's sometimes political philosophies will call themselves things that are misleading, like Proud Boys. If you just listen to the word proud and boy, you're like, I'm a boy, I'm proud. Like what's so bad about that? But what they actually are is white supremacists. So it's like the Nazi Party was National Socialist. That sounds good, right? Like socialism for the nation, right? Like, no, that's just the Nazi Party. So, you know, like, words have power, and sometimes people use words that have an established meaning, but in combination with other words have a counterintuitive meaning and ideology behind it. Yeah, you can be anti-statist and still be a fascist, for example. Yeah, there's a lot of words and like theory and stuff, but like I said, if it's not accessible, it's not revolutionary. So I didn't go to college. I'm not the smartest person in the world, and I don't know what a lot of words mean. I try to be careful about my choice of words and to understand fully what I'm saying. But nobody's perfect, and nobody's going to punish you for not knowing these buzzwords. If you don't know, if somebody's bringing this shit up, don't just like blindly nod and be like, yeah, totally. Like, think about it. If you don't know what the words mean, ask what they mean, and ask that person to explain it to you if you're in a conversation with somebody, you know. Don't just blindly accept things. Question. Ask questions. Who's telling me this, and why are they telling me this, and what does this mean? What does this mean for them? What does it mean for me? Use your critical thinking skills. Question authority, and vet your sources, and never stop learning, okay? Sammy Butler, the Railroader website, social media. I'm the only one representing being a rail rider in this particular capacity because it is a very guarded community, much like the activist scenes and anarchist scene. I'm saying scenes when I mean like collectives and movements and whatever. I'm not going to trivialize it by calling them scenes, but a lot of people that practice resistance aren't in a hurry to be broadcasting it. And it's a point of contention that I do represent what I do in the capacity that I do, which is why I'm very careful about how I do it. So, no. You have to dig for that stuff. And actually meet people and get involved in the community. There's a reason that there is gatekeeping. It's not because, you know, it's like cool kids only club. It's about safety. And privacy. Not everybody wants fame. Most, like, you know, if you're truly in it, then you're not doing it for recognition. So that's where a lot of people get fucked up on me, because they think that I'm talking about this kind of thing because they think that I want to capitalize on information and, you know, different subcultures that are anti-capitalist. And obviously I'm not rich. But yeah. You can use money without being a capitalist. And you can represent ideas that are anti-establishment while still participating in certain levels of establishment, I guess. I don't know. I'm going to get fucking hard canceled for like any number of things that I've said today, because that's kind of a thing that people like to do. But I'm not worried about it, because I don't know, whatever. At this point in time, people are pretty aware that cancel culture is some COINTELPRO shit. White Russian says, I don't have a lot, but I hope it will help. Thank you so much, White Russian. I appreciate you. Hell yeah. Oh, what a sweetheart. Fuck yeah, cheers. Alright, folks. I am gonna fuck right off. And I hope everybody's having a good day. Now, just remember, when you go out there, do what you can to help build and move forward. Don't get caught up in bullshit and interpersonal politics that distract from what we're trying to build and what we're trying to do for people. If you get pulled into some type of nitpicky, abstract political discussion about something that is so niche that you find yourself wondering, like, how does this fit into the movement? Then you're probably having the wrong conversation. And you don't need to get mad at people about it. Just withdraw, move forward. Keep building. Keep reinforcing existing community structures. You don't have to strike out on your own and be self-sufficient. You want to be community sufficient. You want to participate in mutual exchange and fellowship with other people. Building small communities is one of the most important things that you can do, and don't ever let anybody distract you from that or pull you into some dumb shit that doesn't matter, okay? Keep feeding people, keep providing clean paraphernalia and clothes, blankets to people in need, and take care of yourself, okay? All right, I'll catch y'all later. Have a good one.